objection is that if Allah has power, of course He has, then He must give us some evidence, positive proof that this unusual thing happened. We do not find any proof supporting this. On the contrary, we find proof against it. This is our argument. So to give it a wrong twist by saying has Allah not power or has Allah power, this is all an intentional dishonesty.
Actually speaking, I was confused very much. My question was something else. I went somewhere else. What I have decided here, it seems the saying of God apparently does not sound to be genuine. Because how can, for 100 years, how can the food and the water be unstable? This is what I want to know. My question was this, I was confused with my question.
This is one of the arguments in our favor. That shows that he lived 100 years in dream. Otherwise, this was irrelevant to say that your wine is intact and the food is not rotted. That shows Allah wanted to show him that all that we have seen was just a dream. Don't believe it to be a real happiness. Check it from your own food and wine or drink or water. Yes.
In our Ahmadiyya secondary school in Nigeria, there is one teacher from government. He explained the religion as traditionalist. That he is not Christian, but he is a traditional religion. So we asked, what was our traditionalist? He called himself as traditionalist.
That's right. Yes.
So when we asked him that, are you pagan? Because no, we are not pagan. This is the wrong name or so-called name is given to us. So I am actually traditionalist. So he explained.
Traditionalist in Islamic terminology.
Just traditionalist.
Yes, I understand. We follow the customs of the tribe. That is what we want.
Then he explained one of the reasons while discussing with one of the Christian teachers that why I do believe in Christianity. The reason he explained is that in the Bible it is written that don't commit adultery with neighbor's wife. So why God committed adultery with Joseph's wife in form of Holy Spirit? So he put this question to the Christian and the Christian was not able to answer the question. So it's one of the reasons he gave, and there are so many other reasons that I'm considering myself as traditionalist and my soul religious is traditionalist and we believe in God through some intermediary, but the conception of God is well known there.
Any questions or observations? After that, Nazir Das Sahib, after you have spoken and have answered, I'll give reserve the seat for him now.
A little sad experience which I had on the 27th April last year, the next day of this ordinance by Zia in Pakistan. I was in Delhi working with the Union Public Service Commission as a member. And another member, when he met me, he said, well, Father, I'm a Hindu, Mathur. I'm very happy today that you have joined my fold, you have become a Hindu. I said, well, Mathur, I'm in India and I will change my religion. I'm not in Pakistan where a parliament or assembly and ordinance would declare your religion and my religion. I told this in this press conference also on the 11/4. I told them that I felt so ashamed, especially to the Pakistani press representative, the Jan and others. I said I felt so ashamed when this Mathur told me that I am a Hindu. And I said, if an Indian parliament, which is 4/5 majority that the ruling party has, and there is a move by the RSS Rashtriya Swayam Sevak Sangh and the Jan Sangh, the extremist Hindu organizations. There is quite a move on their part that the Parliament should pass such legislation that there is no Muslim, Sikh, Christian in India, all should be termed as Hindu, whatever personal religion that they may profess. So much so that a brother officer of mine, Mr. Rizvi, which I told, he used to tell jokingly that, well, all of us are a Hindu, but by caste I am a Muslim, stressing that in India the caste very much prevails. And these paper people, I really, they were almost felt ashamed that say the Indian Parliament passes that all are Hindus. The Pakistani at least will not be able to have any say and can't criticize it. And well, there is quite a move, sir, about it. And let us see. They hope they will succeed. Even about some Indian papers, and I told the press conference also here, that some Hindu writers, Dinanath Jha of the Indian nation of Patna, once after the Iranian experience of 1979, he wrote a very beautiful editorial addressing himself to the Iranians. The damn, you may kill yourself, you may destroy your country, you may do anything you like, but for God's sake don't do it in the name of Islam. Islam is, I have studied Islam, he said, and Islam is something higher, nobler, much better than what you profess and you propagate. And I phoned Dinanath Jha and thanked him that I'm really grateful as a Muslim that you wrote this editorial addressing yourself to the Muslims and primarily to the Iranians. But unfortunately, well, the eyes of the Muslims are not opening. One question, sir, which we often hear, and even intellectuals in India, I rebut this about Islamic fundamentalism. And once this one of the foreign secretaries who were earlier, T.N. Kaur, he said that there are two dangers to the national integrity of India. One is this pan-Islamism and Islamic fundamentalism. I rebutted him and told him, well, pan-Islamism, who is propagating pan-Islamism? Now you don't understand Islam. I am a fundamentalist. But I am a fundamentalist of the Quran. I am not a fundamentalist of Zia or Khomeini or Barbar Karmal or Gaddafi. You don't understand Islam and you criticize Islam. And even if you take it, Islamic fundamentalism, what these countries are creating is Islamic fundamentalism. Another thing which he has said that this pan-Islamism is a danger to India and to other countries. And so he is creating pan-Islamism. Iran, Iraq, Egypt and Libya, unfortunately, every so-called Muslim country that log ahead, whatever they are creating is pan-Islamism. T.N. Kaur had no answer for me. That he said, Father, you brought in many. Thank you, sir. One question about this pan-Islamism, sir. This has become a great bargain by others on Islam. That pan-Islamism, this Islamic fundamentalism is a great danger to any progressive third world country.
Islamic fundamentalism or pan-Islamism?
That is not so much what they have come to understand about pan-Islamism and nobody is creating it. But among the intellectuals, this Islamic fundamentalism is very much abutted.
You rightly pointed out to him.
Yes, sir.
What we call Islamic fundamentalism is not Islamic fundamentalism at all. It's neither Islamic nor fundamentalism, because it does not pertain to Islam and does not pertain to fundamentals either, because they start this fundamentalism, so-called fundamentalism in Islam, from the Middle Ages. And they refer this always to some scholars of the Middle Ages. For instance, in case of some fundamentalists, Imam Ghazali is the root. While among the fundamentals of Islam, there is no such thing as Imam Ghazali.